Midnight in Karatina. The music is dying, the streets are thinning, and the night is beginning to swallow its secrets. A young woman walks into the darkness, her footsteps unsteady, her voice still carrying the warmth of a night out. She's not alone. There's someone beside her, close enough to talk, close enough to be trusted. At first, they're heading toward town, toward light, toward people, toward safety, but then they turn. A different path, quieter, darker, almost deliberate. And in that moment, captured silently by a watching camera, everything changes. Because what looks like an ordinary walk will become the final journey of a 20-year-old girl. And what happens next will be pieced together not from memory, but from contradictions, from evidence, from silence. By morning, she will be found lifeless, her body abandoned, her voice gone, and the man who walked beside her, he will tell a story, but the truth may already have been recorded. This is not just a story about what happened that night. It's about what doesn't add up. Hi crime dopers, welcome to today's show, where we uncover the truth behind some of the most chilling, complex, and deeply human crimes. I'm your host, Wanja. Today's episode takes us to Nyeri County, to a case that has shaken communities, sparked national conversation, and left behind more questions than answers. The story of Sheila Chebet, a 20-year-old student, a future in medicine, a life interrupted. Before we begin, a few important notes. This episode is based on publicly available reports and ongoing investigations. All individuals mentioned are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. The purpose of this episode is not to accuse, speculate irresponsibly, or pass judgment, but to present the known facts, examine the timeline, and raise awareness around a case that continues to unfold. Some details in this episode may be disturbing to listeners, including references to violence, so listener discretion is advised. Because beyond the headlines, beyond the investigation, there is a family grieving, a community searching, and a young woman whose final moments deserve to be understood. So tonight, we ask, what really happened on the last walk of Sheila Chebet? To understand what happened that night, we have to begin with who Sheila Chebet was. Not just a name in a headline, not just a victim in a case file, but a life in motion. Sheila Chebet was 20 years old, a first-year student at the Kenya Medical Training College KMTC in Nyeri. She had chosen mortuary science, a path not many take, a discipline that requires courage, precision, and an understanding of death that most people spend their lives avoiding. Those who knew her described someone focused, grounded, quiet, but not withdrawn. She was building something, a future, a purpose. March 29th, 2026, a normal night, or at least it began that way. Like many students, Sheila stepped out, maybe to unwind, maybe to breathe, maybe just to be young for a few hours. There were lights, music, people. Nothing about that night at first felt dangerous, but somewhere between the laughter and the journey home, the night began to shift.
After kukaa kwa hapo kwa club, kuna ile kuota walikuwa na kunywa before na the girl, now the deceased. So wakamaliza, akanitext sasa WhatsApp, akaniambia, I quote, let's go to your room so that we can have the lady.
Cameras don't feel, they don't interpret, they only record. And what they recorded will become one of the most critical pieces of this case. Sheila was not alone. She was walking with a man, close, familiar, at ease, at least on the surface. At first, their path seemed ordinary. They were heading toward town, toward light, toward movement, toward safety, but then a deviation. subtle, almost unnoticeable unless you're looking closely. The direction changes, not toward the busy streets, but away from them, towards Rafina estate. Quieter, darker, more isolated. It's in moments like this that everything hangs on a single decision, a turn, a step, a choice that doesn't feel dangerous until it is. Imagine that walk, the street lights thinning, the noise fading behind you, the air growing heavier, quieter. Two people walking side by side, maybe talking, maybe not, but something begins to change. Because later, witnesses will report hearing voices that night. A man, a woman, an argument, loud, heated, uncontrolled. Words we may never fully know. Tension we can only imagine, and then silence. Morning comes, as it always does, but this morning brings something no one was prepared for. In Rafina estate, in a quiet area now marked by something far darker, a body is found. It's Sheila. She's no longer the girl who stepped out the night before, no longer the student with plans and purpose. Now she is evidence, a crime scene, a question waiting to be answered. And in that moment, the story changes from a night out to an investigation, from a life in motion to a life taken. But what happened between that walk and that silence? What turned a simple night into something so violent? To answer that, we have to follow the evidence. And the story it tells is very different from what was first claimed.
Akaniambia, jamaa tumeatakiwa. Kwenda kumuuliza nani amewataka, akakata simu, hakuniambia kitu kingine. Nikamtext nikamuuliza, rada mmeatakiwa wapi na nani na dem ako wapi? Ndo akaniambia niko na simu ya dem na dem nimemwacha na homa jamaa. Nikamuuliza uko wapi? Akaniambia mimi mahali niko hata sijui ni wapi, mimi nilikimbilia sijui kwa shamba iko na madhara, then nikatokea sijui kwa mto, nikapita niko barabara yenye naona sienta.
By the time investigators arrive in Rafina estate, this is no longer just a scene, it's a puzzle, and every piece matters. The ground tells part of the story, disturbed soil, signs of a struggle, a silence that feels interrupted, and then the body, Sheila Chebet. What investigators see immediately raises questions, because this was not random, this was not quick, this was violent.
Kwenda kidogo nikaonana na nguo ya ndani ya msichana. Hapo ndio nilikuwa na kitu yenye nilikuwa naenda kungoa pale mwogo. Wakati nilifika hapo nikaona mwili wa msichana umelala, hauna nguo yoyote kuanzia juu hadi chini, alikuwa tu na socks pekee, na hizo socks zilikuwa na matope. Kumwangalia kwa shingo aliona trouser, na hiyo trouser ilikuwa imefungwa na mshipi kwa shingo, na msichana amelala kama ameangalia juu.
At Karatina Level 4 Hospital, the examination begins, and the findings are chilling. Cause of death, strangulation, a severe head injury consistent with blunt force trauma, multiple bruises across her back. This wasn't just an assault, it was sustained, it was forceful, it was personal, and most importantly, it took time. Time that someone was there, time that someone did not leave. Then comes the account from the man last seen with her, a student, young, present that night. He tells investigators a story. They were walking together, heading toward Karatina stage, when suddenly they were ambushed. 3 unknown men, violent, aggressive. He says he managed to escape. He says he ran. He says he left her behind. And at first, it sounds possible because chaos can look like anything. Investigators turn to something that doesn't forget. CCTV. Frame by frame, minute by minute. They reconstruct the night. And what they find doesn't match the story. There is no ambush, no third party, no sudden chaos, just 2 people walking together. Calm, uninterrupted, unthreatened, and then the same turn, the same path, the same direction toward Rafina. Then comes the data, phone location records, cold, precise, unemotional, They place him near the scene, not running away, not escaping, but present, still there. And then the voices. Residents in the area begin to speak. They remember that night, not clearly but enough. A man and a woman arguing loudly, not playful, not casual. Something had escalated and then nothing. Now the pieces are on the table and they don't align. A story of an ambush but no evidence of attackers, a claim of escape but location data says otherwise, a moment of chaos but footage shows control. So the question becomes not just what happened, but why the story doesn't match. On March 31st, 2026, police move. The man last seen with Sheila Chebet is arrested, presented before Karatina law courts. Investigators request time, 14 days, to dig deeper, to verify, to build a case. Because at this stage, this is no longer just suspicion, it's a timeline, a sequence of events tightening. But with all this, some things remain unclear. What triggered the argument? What happened in those final minutes? Was this planned or did something snap? Because somewhere between the walk, the voices, and the silence, the truth is still waiting. And as investigators continue to piece it together, one thing is becoming undeniable. The night is no longer a mystery, it's a timeline, and timelines don't lie. By the time this case reaches the courtroom, it is no longer just a story, it is evidence, it is timelines, it's truth tested. On March 31st, 2026, the suspect is brought before the Karatina law courts. No verdict, no conclusions, just the beginning of accountability. The prosecution does not need to prove everything, not yet. At this stage, they only need one thing: time. 14 days to hold, to investigate, to connect the pieces.
Accused will be remanded at nearly maximum security prison. The accused is to be escorted to Nyeri Referral Hospital, County Referral Hospital, for mental assessment. Plea on the 27th of April, PO to issue.
Behind the scenes, investigators begin assembling a narrative, not from assumptions but from alignment. Because in criminal investigations, truth is often found where stories fail to match. They look at the last known movements, the CCTV timeline, the phone location data, the postmortem findings, the witness accounts. Individually, each piece is just information, but together, they begin to form a pattern.
But according to venye majirani waliniambia, ni ati walianza kusikia some commotions in my room. Dem alikuwa na accuse Vincent akimuita, maybe akimwambia ulikuwa unanidanganya uko na pesa na huna pesa. My first time to see Chebet and my last time to see Chebet on Saturday.
At the heart of this case is not just what happened, it's this. Does the evidence support the story given? Because the version presented of an ambush by known attackers must stand against it. Footage that shows no interruption, data that places the suspect at the scene, testimony that suggests conflict, not chaos. And in a courtroom, contradictions are not small things, they're everything. The postmortem reveals time, force, struggle. This was not instantaneous. It was not invisible, which raises difficult questions. If there was an attack, why is there no trace of multiple attackers? If there was escape, why does the timeline remain unbroken? If there was chaos, why does the evidence reflect control? These are not conclusions, they are questions, the kind that defines cases. At this point, speculation begins to grow outside the courtroom. People ask, was this planned? Was it an argument that escalated? Was alcohol a factor? But inside the justice system, speculation has no power, only evidence does. And that distinction matters because justice is not built on what we think happened, but on what can be proven. While the process continues, a family is grieving, a chair is empty, a future is missing. A 20-year-old student who stepped out one night never came back. And in all the legal language, the timelines, the analysis, it's easy to forget. This case is not just about evidence, it's about a life.
Hiyo saa 2 tulimcall, simu haikuwa inashikwa. Tulimcall mara mingi, hawako na receive call yote. Chebet was such kind girl. She was very polite.
The court grants investigators more time. The case remains active, the truth still unfolding. The suspect is expected back in court. And when that moment comes, the question will no longer be what might have happened, but what can be proven beyond reasonable doubt. Because in the end, cases like this are not just about justice for the past. They're about truth in the present and accountability for the future. Sheila Chebet walked into the night like so many others do, without fear, without knowing that her story would end before morning. But her voice does not end there. It lives in the questions being asked, in the evidence being examined, in the demand for truth. Because justice is not just a verdict, it's a process, a pursuit, a refusal to let silence win. And as this case continues, we remember her not as a headline, but as a life that mattered, a story that deserves truth, and a name that deserves justice.
We understand that they spent quite some time together, and that is why we are holding him as the key suspect. But investigation is underway so that we can be able to know exactly what transpired.
Huyu msichana wangu ilikuwa ni mtu. Na nilikuwa nimekutarajia kabisa ikue mtu kwa poma yangu. Lakini imekuwa bahati mbaya. Taambia ile watoto wangu tukae tu tusindikiza yeye.
Energy and the kindness will always echo our hearts, and the odds we once shared. It's hard to say goodbye to someone who meant so much. You may no longer sit beside us in class, but your spirit remains in every corner of our memories. A friend who cared deeply, a classmate who inspired quietly, a person who will never be forgotten.
Thank you for listening to Crime Dopers. If this story moved you, share it, because awareness keeps these conversations alive. Follow us for more true crime stories that matter. And if you have a case you'd like for us to cover, reach out. Until next time, stay aware, stay informed, and stay safe.